What's up, everybody? Today is April 20th again. Earlier today I went out to the lake to catch a few trout when it was raining and windy. Weatherman got it wrong tonight, man. I just looked outside. There is like absolutely, well, not absolutely no wind, but very little wind. And it looks like the wind should be gone for at least 3 hours, and then a pretty big storm's actually coming tonight where I live. So you know me, we're gonna strike while the iron's hot. You know what I mean? I'm looking at the weather forecast for the next few days, and it's not looking too great. So if we get a 2-hour trip out of tonight, man, I'm happy. Honestly, just put the boat on the back of the truck. I didn't even tie the rigs up yet. I'll end up tying them out on the boat, but I'll do an intro of like which rigs I used next, but I'll end up doing those at my house when I get home tonight or tomorrow morning. But stay tuned. I'm kind of excited. We got some nice weather finally. All right, so tonight we're going to be heading out for some stripers. I'm going to be using jigs. Now, please don't take this the wrong way. I like jigging for them, or casting and retrieving and slow working it. There are tons of ways to catch stripers. I mean, I have this little, box of poppers and, metal jigs that work just as well. But, I'm not going for very long tonight, and I've learned over the years, have a plan and stick with it. You know what I mean? If you start tying on like different rigs every other cast, or just changing it up, you really won't find out if what the style of fishing you're doing is actually working. Now, granted, if I don't start catching anything, I'm definitely gonna switch up what my rigs are if I'm marking fish. But we're just gonna keep it simple tonight. Now, the first part of this rig is the jig head. Now, I've been using these VMC moon jigs. They work really well. My only complaint, to be honest with you, is the hook. The hook is very, I don't know. The hooks are sharp as can be, but they're very thin, and they bend very easily. I mean, you can already see this one, which I've been using. It's kind of starting to separate from where the little, hook is on the back to keep the bait from falling off. And we'll just show you real quick, like what a brand new one, how it's still like attached. They do bend pretty easily, but I'm also learning though it's only with this moon eye jig, because I do have a pack of these sleek. They're made by the same company, VMC. These sleek half-ounce jigs, and the hooks are much thicker and much stronger. So I'm not really sure why they do that, but we're gonna stick with them because I only have 2 left and I want to use them up. I don't like going out and buying jigs, but I'll be honest with you, I have a ton of different jigs. We have our Bass Pro ones, we have our Kalins, metal, regular jigs, half-ounce jigs. To me, I don't think it makes a difference. I personally actually like these Kalin jigs a lot, just because they use Gamagatsku hooks and they're much sharper and sturdier. Some of these other ones, Kalin's made these years ago, and they used mustad hooks, and they're very, they bend very easily. So I'm not a big fan of that. I like durability. So if you had to tell me I could only pick one jig for this type of fishing, I'd probably go with Kalin's. But that's just my opinion. So, all right. So the first step of this rig, we're just going to get our line, which is 20-pound monofilament. It's some no-name brand. I got it at Walmart. A spool of like 500 yards for practically nothing. We're going to tie the jig on at the bottom. Everybody has their own knots they like. So I'm going to spare you the details of that, because if you're watching this, you'll probably know how to tie knots, and the last thing you want to do is watch 10 minutes of me trying to tell you what the best knot is, because that's not what this video is, unfortunately. So once we have that jig on there, all right, some guys are weird about it, and they leave that tag end align. I personally, it bothers me, so I do trim it. I will tell you, I have seen people that leave it and they catch just as many fish, but for my sanity, I'm just going to trim that. Then we're going to measure out, you know, in my head about what 2 feet up looks like. We're going to take that line. This is the second step. Going to make a quick loop. Now, this is what I'm going to be tying my line straight to. Now, I do tie, you know, mono to Power Pro or braided line. But for this, I'm just going to put a loop on it. It's a simple way to tie to your line. Now, there's 2 ways you could do this. Now, I personally like it this way, and I'll explain why, but it doesn't mean it's the correct way, meaning, you know, there's different ways to tie this rig. Some people tie a dropper loop, you know, above the jig head 2 feet up. I personally don't for this rig, and here's why. So if you run into, you know, let's say an example, a double header striper, you know, double header fish, whatever it may be, that dropper loop is now tied to this main line. So now you have 2 fish who are pulling at this main line and putting tension on it, which can cause the line to break. Now, I'm only using 20-pound mono, so I'm not expecting to break off anything unless it's, you know, bluefish that bites through the line. But by tying it to a separate part of it, let's say I do get a double header, which, you know, last time I went out on my boat, the first time I dropped, I literally got a double header striper. That top fish is fighting, and it's only putting pressure on this line. It's not putting pressure on the main line. But, you know, to each their own. Some people like the dropper loop. I personally like the extra line right here. So what I'm going to do, real quick, just grab this, clip it. All right. I got a Gamagatsku size 3.0 Octopus hook. I'm going to feed that through and then tie that on. All right, let's just pull that knot tight. All right, there we go. I'm just going to trim off that little excess piece, tag end. All right, now, why I like this rig, and this will be the last thing, and then we'll get we'll get into the, you know, rest of the video. Why I like this rig is when I'm drifting, this is off on the bottom, and this is suspended up above it. Now, if you're using, like for instance, I'm going to try some Berkley Gulp again tonight with white swimming mullet. It has the paddle tail, and when this is, if you're drifting at the right speed, you have one bait on the bottom, 2 feet up, and that little bit of action, I'm telling you, will, you know, spark a bite. I like it because you're also fishing 2 different parts of the water column. Now, if you're watching this video to try and see somebody catch trophy size fish, you know, you might as well just look for a different video, because right now we're just going after, you know, the schoolies, because we know they're around. There are some, you know, 25 plus inch fish where I'm fishing, but primarily there's a ton of, you know, 15 to 20 to 22 inch fish. So we're going to be targeting them tonight. I'm going to be throwing a bunch of different soft plastics. Depending on how the tide is, we're probably going to start shallow and then work our way to deep as the tide slows up. If we do fish the deeper water, we're going to fish some bigger baits. But all right, baby, we're out on the water, man. And I must say, it is like a lake out here right now. Now, very fortunate that the boat ramp I just used is not closed yet. Hopefully the state doesn't screw that one up, but just wanted to give you a quick heads up. Water temp right now, surface temp's about 52.7. We're coming up on the top of the tide, so I am going to be fishing the top of the outgoing. Right now there's not much current, so I'm thinking the switch is coming sooner than later. And if you look to my left, man, we got a beautiful South Jersey sunset, man. Life can't get any better. Well, I guess if we get some fish, it can. So stay tuned. Let me rig up a rod and we'll see what we can get. All right, so tide is ripping in. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna position the boat, anchor us, and then we're gonna work from that anchored position just until the tide slows up. Now, here's where I wanna be. All right, let's jump up to the front. All right, got the anchor. All right, here goes nothing. Go, take that line off, and we're gonna let a little bit scoop out, and then nice little figure 8, lock us in. All right, we're good to go. All right, just pitched it out there. Oh, let's go. That didn't even hit bottom. First fish of the night. Let's go. Let's freaking go, man. Little rat, but nonetheless, it is the first fish of the day. All right, we're gonna let this bad boy go, man. No skunk tonight, but no skunk tonight, brother. What I'm doing, I just pitched it out again. That one, it didn't even get to the bottom, but what I have been doing is pitching it out and just kind of giving it a little bit of a twitch and then reeling a little bit. Water is still pretty cold. According to my depth finder, it says the surface temp's about 50, so that's probably more accurate right now than the 52 we were initially reading. That 52 I was reading was very close to the dock, so the water there is going to be a little bit warmer. All right, let's see. Let's go. Let's freaking go. Fish on. Doesn't feel big, but it's a fish, baby. Oh, that one was on the top hook. See? I like these Fluke rigs because they are very versatile. I mean, that was on the top hook. My bottom hook's down here. All right, two stripers for the night. One of the big things, get this out there. When I go fishing, I always have an objective. Now, I know what the tide's doing right now, and if I continue to get fish right here, I'll continue to fish this spot. But if the tide does slow down, which it will because it's almost at high, I might move to some deeper water and try and target some bigger fish with some bigger baits. But one of the issues I notice about fishing that deep water is, you only have a certain amount of time to actually fish it, where you're not drifting 5-6 knots or some ridiculous speed where you can actually fish it. So if this continues to be a good pick, I'll probably stay, but if it does slow up, I am going to head over there, switch the bait to a little bit bigger 5-6 inch jerk shad, and see if we can't get on a bigger fish. Let's go. Let's freaking go. This one feels bigger. Bigger for sure. Not a keeper, but definitely bigger fish. Oh, that's why. Poor fish, look at that. He wasn't even trying to eat it. That one hooked in the side of the head, but he'll live. All right, that's 3. Let's get back out there. Now, I've had a lot of guys DMing me recently, asking for tips on stripers, and I have a few people that will say, "Oh man, you seem to catch fish all the time, and like I can't even buy a bite." Honestly, I'm not really doing anything crazy. I've been fishing, my whole life, and there were times in my life where I've gotten skunked and couldn't buy a bite. But what I've learned over the years, though, is to fish smart. You gotta kind of learn what these fish want. Right now, I know these fish are feeding on like bay anchovies, minnows, these smaller fish, sandworms. So what I'm trying to do is kind of match the the baits that they're actually eating right now. That's why I went with the Berkley Gulp swimming mullet, because it looks very similar to a minnow or a bay anchovy, has a ton of action, and it's not too big for them. Like they can actually they can actually, oh, that's never good when you get seaweed. Let's take that off. But they can actually, when I've swallowed these, which I've learned with these fish, what's weird about them is they can be very temperamental with the size bait you're using. Where I was fishing the other day for stripers, literally they were hitting only on one of my rods that had a, you know, specific rig, and it was the weirdest thing. I casted 2 rods, 2 separate rigs within 5 feet of each other, and literally was catching fish on the one rod the entire time and nothing on the other. And the only difference was the one rod that was getting hits had like a pink float on it, and it also had the bait spread a little differently. So sometimes it could be a matter of something that, like inches, you know what I mean? Where, you know, your bait's just not in the right feeding zone, if you will, I guess. So you always gotta just, you know, reflect on your fishing and see, you know, what could be, you know. Like if I wasn't catching fish the next few casts, that tells me I'm doing something wrong, because I know the fish are here. Either I'm presenting them the bait incorrectly. Like here's a big thing I see from people is they fish too quick. If you're casting and retrieving in this cold water, you can't be reeling it in like you're, you know, working for, you know, a sailfish, because these fish are a little lethargic right now. They're not in that, you know, striper blitz zone where they're just going nuts. Like I said, oh, there we go. You gotta just match the hatch. You know what I mean? Use the baits that you know they're hitting on. I'm telling you, I've had people fishing next to me, and they look at the bait I'm using, and they're saying, well, why am I not catching them? I'm using the same color. Well, then you gotta look at, maybe it's the action. Maybe you're not working them fast enough, or you're working it too quick. Just not to cut it off, but that was on the top hook, man. Nice little striper with a diaper. Now that last one ripped the tail off, so we're gonna put a new one on. But I swear, Berkley Gulp, when they made these originally, they were so durable that you pretty much had to cut them off your rig. Nowadays, you know, everybody that flounder fishes with these know, as soon as them sea bass come in, like the little sea bass, you almost can't even fish these, because by the time you hit the bottom and jig it 3 times, you've already lost the tail. It's my only, you know, negative comment about these swimming mullet is, you know, they're very brittle, I guess you would say. I am noticing the bite has kind of gotten a little bit better once the tide slowed down a little bit. When I first got here, it was ripping through, and we had fish, but not, it seems like every cast I'm getting knocked, so hopefully that continues. Yeah, like the one thing that kills me, whoop, there we go, is all these people are calling for boat ramps to be closed. I mean, Jesus Christ. I get shutting down nightclubs and bars and all these places where a ton of people gather, but you're really gonna shut down a boat ramp? Like, I don't know about you guys, but that's when you'd see me protest. And I'm not a big protest guy, but if they shut down these boat ramps, man, they're gonna have a problem. All right, we're gonna let fish number 5, I think, go. I mean, I am marking fish, so it's hard for me to want to leave, but I only got probably another 15-20 minutes, honestly. I told my wife I'd be home at a reasonable hour. You know, I don't want to get home super late, wake her up, and, you know, she's already done me a huge enough favor, let me get out while my daughter sleeps, so I honestly can't complain. And this is also my second fishing trip of the day. I'm very fortunate that, you know, my wife is very understanding, because now it did slow down for about the last 10 minutes. I just picked off that one fish, but I think the tide is honestly switching. My my anchor, or my line for my anchor, starting to rotate, which is telling me that the tide is slowly moving out. So hopefully that'll help with the bite. But I do know when it does go slack, I've never really had great luck fishing for these types of fish. But yeah, back on the boat ramp, man. Like, oh, fish on. Why the hell are you gonna close a boat ramp? I don't know what the logic behind that is. You know what I mean? If you watch this video and you have sorry, losing my mind, logical reason why a boat ramp should be closed, let me know, because I've been trying to think of one and I can't think of any. But number 6, we're gonna let him go. You know what I mean? Like, I already got to deal with all the crazy people at the food store. Like, don't make me, you know, lose the one thing I love, you know, other than my wife and my daughter. You know what I mean? Honest to God, I honestly didn't want to put the boat in tonight. I wanted to fish from land because I know a few spots that this time of year with this tide and this little wind would be, you know, crushing them. But I also know that there's probably 50 other anglers just like me that want to get out to that same spot, and I don't want to have to wear a face mask when I go fish. So I went with the next best option, which is, you know, fishing on my boat. All right, so I am running low on time, so I am going to pull the anchor. I'm going to try and hit a deeper water spot. If I see some fish, I'm going to try and drop on them and just vertically jig. If I'm not seeing fish there, what I'll end up doing is anchoring one more spot that I could possibly get some more fish. So stay tuned while I go look for them. Oh, get that bad boy in the boat. Now, just like I was saying earlier, safety, I got my spotlight. I'm able to you know, look for any crab pots that I might run into. So I'll tell you what, this is a must. I bought this a couple years ago, and this thing is strong as can be, holds a good charge, and in an emergency you can actually charge things off of it, so that's pretty cool. But I'll post in the information down below the name brand. Stanley makes it. It's called a Fat Max, but they're pretty reasonable. I bought it at Walmart, so I didn't spend a ton. And here's what I'm talking about. If you're looking out here, you can't tell anything. And then, you know, you flash the light and you see one of these bad boys. That'll ruin the night, run that over. So I'm trying to keep my eyes open. My vision's honestly terrible at night too. And this is where, like, fishing with a friend, you know, comes in handy, because they could work the spotlight while you're driving. But you know, unfortunately I probably won't be fishing with any friends anytime soon until this, you know, virus thing passes. But man, I can't believe how many pots are right, you know, in a navigable channel like this. It's kind of nuts, but it is what it is. Everybody's got to make a living, so I ain't gonna complain. Now, I did just mark a huge pile of bait, but there doesn't seem to be much around it, so we're gonna bypass that deep spot. I mean, we're looking at, you know, 50 some feet of water right now. All right, let's drop the anchor at the second and final spot of the night. Hopefully find a few fish here. If not, we're gonna call it a night. So give it 10 minutes, see what we can get. All right, so we just pitched it out for the first time at this second spot. Let's go. Already got a fish on the first cast here. Not very big, but it's a fish, all right. Little guy. Now, true story. This boat that I'm on, I bought when I was 16, right? I bought it with no motor. It cost me $600, right? Best $600 I ever spent. I could have honestly taken that money as a 17 or 16-year-old and went to prom that year and, you know, spent it on a tux, a limo, all that nonsense that comes with prom. And I took the year off. Now, at the time, it didn't seem like a great move because, you know, my girlfriend wasn't too happy about that. But, you know, I tell people today, thank God I did, because you know what? This boat's still with me, you know, 13 years later. And, you know, I've moved on to bigger and better things. But what kind of pisses me off, my last striper video from a boat, some guy, you know, was giving me a hard time saying, well, you know, yeah, it's nice for you to post these videos of you fishing on your boat. Not everybody has a boat. I'm like thinking, is this guy watching me fishing from like a mega yacht? You know what I mean? Like, this is a 15-foot bay boat that I spent $600 on. Oh, shoot. Hold on. He fell off the hook. You know what I mean? Like, this guy's acting like I'm fishing. Oh, hold on. This guy was acting like I was fishing on, you know, one of those super yachts that are on TV. You know what I mean? I'm fishing bare bones, 15-foot boat. And he's trying to give me a hard time. Yeah, let me get this back out there. But what's crazy is, like, you'd think people would learn. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I have nothing nice to say about someone's video or something, you know, or their post, I just, you know, think that to myself. I don't, you know, go out and start typing up a rant about, oh, well, you should do this and you should do that. Like, listen, I'm doing these videos out of the goodness of my heart and trying to help people out, you know, catch more fish. Like, and you gotta come at me like I never told anybody they gotta buy a boat. If honestly, if I had the choice, I'd be fishing from land right now. But I just know it just wouldn't be very safe, because I know there's going to be a ton of people fishing, and I have no idea where those people have been fishing. So, you know, here we are out on the boat. But yeah, moral of the story, man, if you're a high school kid and you're thinking about going to prom, save that money and buy a boat, because I promise you it will last a lot longer than a high school relationship. Fish on. And that's the truth, man. Well, getting a little bit bigger. Ooh, that guy inhaled that one. But good thing there is it's still hooked in the side of the mouth, so he's not a gut hooker. Let me get my pliers, because I don't want to hurt this guy. There we go. No harm done. We're gonna get this guy back in the water. Let him live another day. All right, let's get it back out there. Now back to the fishing aspect. I've already talked a little too much about life. I'm sorry for that. So if you're somebody who watches these videos and you're trying to figure out how to target this specific species, but you really haven't done it very often, and you really are kind of clueless when it comes to these fish, they're not hard. Don't overthink it. I mean, these things will eat anything you throw at them. I do find that at night, dark colors work really well for like plugs and stuff, but for soft plastics, I don't know what it is about the color white. I've always had a ton of success with white. I mean, you could just see right now. This is my third cast here, and this actually got a little spunk, but he's not a keeper. Oh, damn. It's the biggest one of the night. I mean, and when I say biggest one of the night, I'm not saying he's big by any means. Like, I know this video is already going to come out dark, so I'm not going to try and measure a fish, but just for, you know, sake of the video, I'd say this fish is probably, I don't know, 15 inches, so that's not a very big fish. Yeah, so we're on that last cast of the night. Hopefully we'll get a little something off it. I'm gonna let it go down the bottom, and we're just gonna jig. That way we get the most out of our cast. Just a little bit. Oh, come on. Let's go, let's freaking go. Way to end the night. All right. right. I hate leaving a spot when fish are biting. But, you know, I gotta be a man of my word. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed tonight's video. As always, please like, if you like the video, drop a comment down below. If you're not a subscriber, I know I say this all the time, please subscribe to the page, help a brother out. We hit 1K yesterday. Thank you so much to all the subscribers. Honestly, your support has been overwhelming recently, and I can't thank you enough for everything. So thank you again, and have a great night.